Good morning, everyone. The video might be a little bit jiggly because I'm walking down to the shop right now. So last night we got the Mach 1 completely unloaded into the shop. It was kind of an interesting ordeal because the boys were a little bit busy over at their house putting the laminate floor in, and they didn't really want to pause. So I basically unloaded the car by myself until Gordon was able to come over there and help me with the remainder. I basically had it halfway on the ramp by the time he came out. So I just used the ratchet strap in the trailer to just hold it, and then just used the leverage from the ratchet strap to slowly lower it out of the trailer. It didn't really want to come out straight, so that's what was really awesome when Gordon came out to guide the car. But anyway, we got it unloaded last night, and then we quit there. I went and spent some time with the little boys and my brother over at his house after he finished the flooring. Did some dishes, made some supper, and then just chilled. So anyway, this morning, I think the plan is I'm going to just cut the front end off the Mach 1, and I might actually just bolt the engine and transmission together and then just set it basically in the engine bay, so that way all the wires will reach, so I don't have to worry about it. The one thing I am kind of worried about is I don't know if I have any of the bolts to actually mount the transmission to the engine, so that might be a little bit interesting. We're gonna find out. So see you guys in here in a minute. Alrighty, ladies and gents, so I think the plan is going to be to cut it right where the crease is right here at this bolt on this side. I want to leave myself like an inch gap in front of the actual shock tower so I can work myself back when it's time to do the tubular front end kit. And it also gives me additional metal to weld to attach a D-ring and be able to pull it back out to get this straightened out. So that's what we're going to do on this side. We'll go right where the bolt is. On this side, there's a nice crease right here at this square. And I think this is actually kind of where it's bent. So we'll just go right here and go all the way down this line. And then we can work it back for the tubular front end from there. Because I honestly think that everything from shock tower back on this side is fine. It doesn't look like any of the welds are pulled over here. So I think that this side is fine. So we're going to just cut it right here on this line you see going down. That'll give me enough room to actually work it back towards the shock tower when it's time to tubular front end this side. So the main thing this morning is going to be taking a bunch of pictures of how everything routes on this, pulling things like the rubbers for the radiators, pulling all the brake lines off, pulling the horn. We'll pull these tabs for the hood adjusters. We'll pull the hood release, get that completely out of here, remove the core support, pull the bolts off of it to potentially use it for something else. You never know what else might have the same bolts. Pull the header panel bolts that are right here. You know, save as many bolts as we possibly can because you never know what hardware you're going to need on certain spots. And Ford did use a lot of the same hardware. So that's the nice part. A lot of it is like a M8 or a M6 or something of that nature. So we'll save as much stuff off of this as we can and then scrap the rest off the front end here. So I think that'll be the easiest method. We'll just cut all this out and then we can just go ahead and slide the engine right into this sucker. Plug everything in. We might not even need those attachments that I bought for the fuel rail because we can just go right back into this one. So then we'll be good to go. We can just utilize the original stuff. Don't even have to pull the tank or nothing. As long as the fuel pump runs, we're good to go. So I think that's what I'm going to do for now. And I'll catch you guys up when I get the engine and transmission placed in there. The one thing that I'm not sure about, like I said in the previous clip, is I don't have the bolts to bolt the transmission up. So I don't know what I'm going to do there. I'm going to look in my parts stuff and see if maybe I had bolts for the turbo engine. I'm not sure if I did for that either. So I might end up running to town here, going directly to Ford and just seeing if they have any on hand. And if they don't, I'll also have measurements and thread pitch sizes and stuff. And maybe I could just pick a bunch of stuff up from the hardware store because we really only need like maybe 4 bolts total. You know, I figure if we do like the 2 top and then like 1 here and maybe, I guess that's a dowel, but maybe that's actually a bolt hole too. And maybe 1 over there. And then that'd probably be good. Then we'll have our 3 bolts for the starter. And it should be good enough. I mean, it's not like we're actually running it with the transmission. The whole reason why we're putting the tranny on is to use the starter. Unfortunately, these bell housing front plates don't really separate from the transmission because then it exposes the whole inner guts. So unless you do like the G-Force kit on my other 3650, where they put a billet front plate on and then you use a actually we could do that. I might actually go grab that. Then you use the QuickTime bell housing. I could probably just use that QuickTime bell housing with that hardware and then just bolt the starter to that, and then that should work. So yeah, we might just do that. So anyway, away we go, and let's see what we can do. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, so a lot has happened since the last recording. I finally got a bunch of videos downloaded on my laptop, so I'm able to film now. And I wanted to go through all the stuff that's been happening. I've been having a couple of issues as far as wiring is concerned, so I wanted to kind of walk through everything with you and go from there. So as you guys can see, I'm not sure if I got a video film, but we front half the car. Well, I shouldn't say we. I front half the car, got the engine set in there, bell housings on it with the starter. The only thing that's not hooked up currently is the transmission's not hooked up, and there's no O2 sensors because there's obviously no exhaust on the car. So it's probably not going to run very good because it can't see that there's an O2 reading, but there is a MAF sensor, so it should still attempt to run and just throw an O2 sensor code. But anyway, I had my brother come down here last night because I've been having issues where as soon as you hook the battery up, the dash would chime, and not in a good way, you know, like a buzzing, and it would turn the turn signals on, but like dimly. So I knew that there was some sort of a power issue or something's getting power that's not supposed to. So anyway, I had my brother come down here just to inspect all my work. Sometimes it's nice to have somebody with fresh eyes come down, and even if they're not familiar with wiring or working on cars in general, they can kind of look at the harness, see where everything goes, ask you questions about different connectors. Can this be wrong? Can this be wrong? Where does this go? What is this for? You know, maybe you missed something that you didn't think about or something. So anyway, I had him come down and we ran through everything. I went through every connector with him that wasn't connected, what it goes to, all that stuff. So we also pulled a couple of the harness connections off, like the ones that bolt on, so the one here and the one in the fender well, because I thought, well, maybe I flipped those upside down or something crazy, you know. I don't think so because the harness lays a certain way, but maybe there's a possibility that I disconnected it wrong, or I connected it wrong. So pulled them off, inspected the connectors. There are tabs in them to where I think this one is on the bottom. It's got a plastic piece in here, and then the same with that side has a plastic clip. So you can only connect those connectors one way. You can't mess those up. Plus, if you flip this 180, the harness would be going into the fender, and the same thing would happen on that side. So I was pretty sure I was right, but I wanted to make sure. Then we connected the battery, and I disconnected the one over here. Nothing happened. Left the battery connected, pulled the one in the fender. The chiming quit. So there was power to that side that's not supposed to be. So I plugged that back in, started tracing some more stuff. Then I started looking at, you know what, we're probably getting too far ahead. We're looking at things that we shouldn't be looking at yet. Let's work our way back. So let's go grounds, powers, work our way back there. So I started looking at the power wires, and everything was connected properly to its proper place. You know, there's a ground that goes on this first motor mount bolt that's right behind the oil filter. That's good. And then the oil pressure switch connects right to there, so that's good. And then this one comes around, and you got the two wires to the starter, so that's all good. It was all mounted up right. And you do have a couple of connectors up here. I was inspecting these connectors. We pulled them all apart yesterday because I wanted to confirm, is it possible that these round connectors could be connected to the wrong slots? Are they the same connectors? They are not, so you can't mess those up. You know, this one is the only one that can plug into here. This one's the only one that can plug into here. That one's the only one that can plug into there, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So made sure that that was all good. And then I have these jumper cables hooked up, and I was using them as ground straps just so it was a little easier for me, so I didn't have to make grounds that physically went from the engine to the body. I was just kind of using them just to make it easy because I can just stick them on a bolt and it's good to go. But anyway, I had that red one that's on the front of the engine hooked to this bolt on the front of the motor mount where that bolt goes. And then I had it hooked to the chassis right here, and that's where I had it grounded at. Well, we left the battery hooked up. Dash was still chiming. I pulled that ground off. Chiming quit. So that immediately told me that the block is getting power somehow or another, and it's putting power to the grounds. Or there's a short in the power side, shorting to the grounds, or I connected something wrong. So that was the three things that I was thinking about. So I started just disconnecting stuff one thing at a time, and kind of what I'm thinking this morning that I'm going to try with a fresh mind and fresh eyes is I'm going to pull the harness, the power harness completely off, pull it off the starter, pull it off the brackets. It's already unbolted on the front because we thought maybe it was shorting out on the oil pan or something. So we pulled that out, still did it. So I'm going to pull that whole harness completely out, pull it off of the fuse blocks, disconnect those connectors, and then I'm going to pull all the sheathing off of it and just verify that when the vehicle was in the accident, it didn't fray any wires or damage the exterior shell of the wires, and then that's causing it to short out with either some sort of metal component like the brackets or the block, or short against the ground wire. So I'm going to confirm that this morning, and we're going to get back to doing, trying to get this engine to run. So kind of what I'm trying to do is, I don't have a clutch pedal in the car because they pulled the pedal assembly out, and I don't have a transmission hooked up currently, so it's not going to see a neutral connection. So the neutral safety switch isn't going to allow it to turn over from the key. So what I'm trying to get happen is just turn the key on, confirm that the dash turns on the way that it's supposed to, and then from that point, it should have power on to the ignition coils, and the fuel pump should run, and injector should fire. So I should just be able to take a screwdriver to the starter and turn it over that way, and then the engine should fire. We have everything hooked up as much as we can. MAF sensor is connected, kind of cheatily with zip ties, but it works. Everything's connected up here. I replaced the glove plugs with actual plugs that I ended up finding, and then zip tied those. Connected the vacuum line here to this evap canister or whatever it is. I'm pretty sure it's an evap canister, but don't quote me. And then I didn't see any other vacuum lines that were open that needed plugged. There's a couple of connectors over here that I was unsure about the other day, and I ended up figuring out what they were. These two are for the horns. This one is windshield wiper washer pump. This one right here is brake master cylinder. So this is going to be like your brake light or a pressure switch of some sort or something. So there's that. And then there's a couple more grounds I have to make this morning. I'm going to make 2 wires that connect to the headlight grounds. Where are they at here? Oh, I got one up top here. It's just kind of loosely on. But there's one over there that I need to make. I'm going to grab another set of jumper cables, do 2 more grounds from block to body, and then I might even do one from battery to the body too, just to make sure that everything is for sure grounded. I need to actually do one from here to the body as well, because that's supposed to be a body ground for a data link cable. So that might also be a reason why it's not wanting to turn on properly too. So anyway, those are the things we got going on. So I'm going to inspect the power wire harness, get everything hooked up, build more grounds, and test again. That's basically the summation of what I'm going to do. So anyway, thanks very much for viewing, guys. I'll see you in another clip here in a minute. Hopefully it's the engine actually turning on, functioning properly, and then we can try and start it. So let's go. All right, so we got everything hooked back up, and I tried to do it again, and I got the same result. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do next, but I got ground hooked up over here to that headlight ground. I also did 2 grounds to the body, and then one to the side of the block, one to the front of the block on this side. This one I grounded to the power steering bracket. Got her nice and tight. This data link cable I grounded right to the, I don't know what you want to call it, but like the shock tower or strut area. I mounted the actual fuse block so it's up out of the way. Got this bolted back in, so both the alternator wiring and the power wiring is where it's supposed to be. Inspected the harness. I pulled everything off. I didn't see any issues with it, so I put it back on. Grounded the ground back to the block. Got the 2 back on the starter. None of the brackets are on though. Just got the wires laying in there. And I can show you guys now, since I got everything hooked back up, what it's actually doing. I also tied all the other wires up so they're out of the way. But this is what it's doing. So you can hear the dash chiming. And then if you look in there, you can faintly see the turn signals are on. So I checked the ECU side footwell out just to make sure that ground's on, and that's on. I did see one here. I'm gonna have to go up to the house and look it up. Right here, there's this cut, and I don't know if this is supposed to ground something specific or if this was a radio deal, or what. Because I honestly don't think that there was a ground on this side. I think the grounds are up top on the driver's side. So I might pull the dash back out of it, pull the center console and the radio bezel, make sure I hooked all that up right, double check the ground on that side again, see if there's any grounds over there I'm missing. I found a video last night about all the ground locations, so I'll probably watch that, make sure that I got everything, And then the only other thing that I can think about is maybe something on the back is hooked up wrong. So I'm not sure there. I might disconnect that one connector back here that's connected. I wonder what I did with that light. There it is. So just to test it, I might try and pull. Oh, actually probably have to go on this side. So right there, you see that black connector that loops back and connects to itself? I think that's supposed to actually go to the tranny harness, and then another part of the tranny harness connects to the engine side. But I'm not sure, so I might just plug the battery in and disconnect that and see if the chiming stops, because that might be our issue. That's the only one I'm not sure about, that's where it goes. So other than that, I'm going to go up and look up a couple videos about ground locations and stuff and see if maybe we got something hooked up. So I'll let you guys know. Oh, this is just funny, ladies and gentlemen. Let me explain to you what happened here. So I was testing everything out. I plugged the battery in and I was just letting the dash chime. And I just went through every fuse one at a time, trying to see which one it was. Pulled all the relays, nothing. This fuse right here stopped the noise. And this fuse right here is PCM and instrument cluster. So then I was like, okay, well, let me trace back to the interior. So then what I did is I went to the inside. Oh, hold on, give me a second here. I went to the inside here, pulled the cover off of that one, and then was pulling all the fuses down here. And this sucker, let me get under here. This sucker right here was the one. So it's second row from the back. 1, 2, 3. That was the one. Looked it up. Flasher module. So I was like, flasher for hazards? So I put the fuse back in. Sure enough, the hazard button was out. And there's no blinkers in the car, so it can't flash. So that's what it was the whole time. So now, Shazam, there we are. I don't know if it's going to start, though, because it's flashing the theft light, but I don't know. We'll find out. So I'll let you guys know. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. So I had to actually pull the back plate off of the bell housing because the starter wouldn't engage on the flywheel. So now we got it all together. I already turned it over for 10 seconds twice just to make sure that the oil pump had some time to get some oil through the system before it was started. And then I made sure that it would fire up. I ran it for about 10 seconds. So now I got the camera recording, so we'll get this bitch running again. Hell yeah. So keys on. I don't want to run her for too long since it doesn't have no coolant, but there you guys go. I'm glad I got this sucker running. Now I can get this video edited up, and you guys are more than welcome to shoot your offers. So obviously this intake is for my race car, but I just used it to get the engine to fire up. So map sensor will go with it since that's the one that's tuned for this engine. And everything connected to it pretty much as far as wiring harness and stuff. The harness for the car is staying, so it'll just be the harness on the engine. Starter I'm keeping, so you'll have to purchase a starter. You'll have to purchase the dowels to align the bell housing. And I can include the flywheel, but you're going to need a clutch. Or if you're going to run an auto, you're going to need a flex plate and all that stuff. So just to let you guys know that. So thank you guys very much for viewing. And now I can get this all wrapped up, put on a pallet, ready to go. So thank you guys very much for watching this video. We're going to move on to the next project, which is probably going to be cleaning up a square body Chevy that I purchased. And we're going to try and flip that for some profit as well. And then I also bought a white Mustang yesterday that hopefully all the stuff from my black convertible can go into, and we'll get that one cleaned up. Flip that one. We also have the project where the V6 is going to be coming out of my gray car and going into the red Mustang that I'm purchasing from Jake. And then that'll get sold, and either this engine or the NOS 4-valve will go in the silver car. I'm thinking I'm going to keep the NOS one, and this one will be the one that gets sold. So anyway, see you guys later. Thank you very much for watching, and I appreciate your interest. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, so this will be the last video for the 03 Mach 1 4.6 liter 4-valve engine. This is just going to be a quick outro video of everything that's included with the engine and what you guys are going to need. So it's coming with all the radiator hose attachments, both upper and lower, your thermostat block, the ECU with the VIN number wrote on it in case you ended up needing that information for deleting the theft system or anything like that. Your MAF sensors included. You are getting the 6-bolt flywheel. It's a cast iron nodular unit. I would have it resurfaced at your local machine shop. Should cost you anywhere from 20 to 50 bucks, something like that. And I would purchase new flywheel bolts if I were you. I do have all the vacuum lines plugged off with these caps and zip tied on. Fuel line is blocked off with gloves again. I did end up finding a couple of M6 bolts that I had laying around to mount this solenoid back on. I believe it's a vacuum solenoid or something. I can't remember. I did actually look it up, but I did find a couple more M6 bolts for the front bracket here for the alternator and the crossover tube. I would purchase 2 more bolts if I were you that are like this, that have the larger shoulder washer, just so that way it looks a little better, a little bit more professional. But it is mounted on there, in case you guys are wondering there. So everything on the front cover that was torqued was marked with silver paint, both on the head of the bolt right here and has a line on it as well. Some of them don't have the line but are marked with the silver, like this one here. So if you are wondering, the ones that I did torque are marked. The ones for the water pump I didn't mark because you can't really see them anyway, and I kind of forgot about it, if you want me to be honest with you. Oil pan's also not marked, and neither is the engine mounts. If I were you, I would actually pull the engine mount bolts and I would put some blue Loctite on them just so you don't have to worry about them vibrating loose. I did also tighten down these M16 nuts for like your ground wire and stuff like that, just so that way it wouldn't vibrate loose while you're hauling it home. So just so you know that. Brand new Motorcraft filter with 8 quarts of oil. You guys know that from watching the previous video or previous sections of this video, however the editing ended up going on. You will need the bolt for this bracket right here. I didn't end up finding one that worked, so just so you know that, you will need that bolt, or you can leave it out for all I care, but just letting you know that. Shooting this video, I do notice that this cover is still open up. I opened it up to let it breathe when I was running it, so I will have to get that covered up here. But yeah, that's basically all that we got here on this engine. I'm going to get it wiped up a little bit on the valve covers and stuff to make it look a little nicer when taking these pictures. But and then I'm going to wrap all the parts and saran wrap, you know, the ECU, MAF sensor, radiator hose connections, all that stuff will get wrapped separate, and then wrap the engine up real nice and tight. So everything will be ready to go for the next buyer, and you won't have to worry about it getting dirty or getting rained on or anything, because it'll be posted in my trailer, and the saran wrap will keep it clean too. So that's all I got for you guys on this walkthrough, and I want to thank you guys for watching my videos. Hit the like and subscribe button if you like what you're seeing. Comment down below. We got plenty of other projects that are going to be coming over. I'm sure I mentioned it in another clip, but the next one we're going to be doing is a square body pickup that I picked up. I was going to use it for parts on another build, but ultimately I need the cash more than I need the truck. So I think I'm just going to clean it up, go through a little bit of the electrical because it wouldn't turn over when I got it home. Possibly replace the starter with some spare starters that I got laying around, and then post that thing for sale. And then I think the next project is going to be doing the V6 swap. So we're going to pull the V6 out of my silver car and then throw it into the red car that Jake bought. I'll drive that around for a little bit until I get the V8 swap done in the silver car, and then I can continue to drive that back and forth to work, sell that V6. And then the next project is I bought a white Mustang to put all the 4.6 liter 2-valve stuff from my black convertible into. So that'll be after that. So that's kind of what I got lined up. And if you're interested in seeing any of that stuff, tune back in once I got it posted. I also have the race car that I need to finish up. The race car is actually done and all put together. I just haven't edited the videos to finish that one. I think it's going to end up being 2 more. And if you want me to be honest, I've been a little bit lazy about washing that and getting it cleaned up and taking pictures and posting it. So I don't know if it's just a sentimental thing where I'm kind of just procrastinating on not wanting to sell it or or what. So I do need to get that done. I just haven't been doing it. So anyway, that's all I got for you guys. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next video.